Welcome back, everybody, to Fresh Outlook. I am your host, Logan Crawford. It is time now for the lightning round. We explore this week's top stories in lightning fashion, well, sort of anyway. I'm joined by the Ebru think tank, Matthew Tyrmand, an expert on everything conservative from openthebooks.com. Yohuru Williams, an expert on everything scholastic from Fairfield University, and Professor F. Michael Higginbotham, who has written an awesome book called, what's it called?
Ghosts of Jim Crow. The
Ghosts of Jim Crow.
Fantastic
and also
book.
Joining us live via the DC Connection is Robert Chase from Stony Brook University. Let's talk about the $10 bill. Let's get, who's on there?
Alexander Hamilton.
Alexander Hamilton. Oh. Or is that the 20?
He's no, on
that's
the 10.
The 10, okay. I get my presidents, my dead presidents confused. Put a woman on there, what are your thoughts?
Absolutely. Sooner rather than later, I think it's great. It's a great gesture. Susan B. Anthony would be wonderful.
But she's already on the coin.
She is. I can think of a half a dozen people right now that would be great. Symbolically, Eleanor Roosevelt would be great. But ultimately, this is, to me, a no-brainer.
Okay.
You know, I'm not averse to changing with the times.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not. And by the way, I do want to correct. I'm not, knows everything conservative. I had to take some unction with that libertarian. I believe in liberty and leave me alone as a philosophical predicate.
But when you use unction in a sentence, it makes us think you're a conservative.
Oh, well, Alexander Hamilton was one of the greatest Americans in history. He was the founder of the Bank of the United States. He was the one who paved the way for a financial system that catalyzed the Industrial Revolution and brought hundreds of millions, billions out of poverty all over the world. If you want to kick someone off of a bill, it should be Andrew Jackson on the 20. He was a warmonger, a racist, a slaveholder, but he was the founder of the Democratic Party, so there's a political agenda.
Oh, that's great.
Zing! All right.
I'm in 100% agreement there.
Oh my God! Okay, you heard it
let's
here.
Let's take him off the 20 and let's put Harriet Tubman on there.
Harriet Tubman.
America needs to be inclusive of all of its
people. Let's get Robert Chase in on
That's
this.
Great.
Robert.
I'm just surprised that Matthew wanted to have Alexander Hamilton removed, as he was for a strong federal state.
All right.
I like Alexander Hamilton, great American.
Okay, sounds great. We'll talk about Donald Trump. I got to tell you, I was very disappointed with the Trump announcement. It was so off the cuff. It was kind of rambling. He had saliva gathering in the corner of his mouth. I think he's a very bright guy. I think he is a very talented guy, obviously. I think he actually could be a decent president. But you wouldn't know it from that speech he made. And in fact, there's been backlash now because he said nasty things about immigrants. He's not going to be on Univision with his beauty contest or whatever. Let's make it more focused on Trump announcement.
If you're going to have a Miss World pageant and you're going to invite international sponsors, be careful what you say. Univision may be violating his contract. Trump said he's going to take them to court. He probably will win because they'll be in violation of this agreement. But at the end of the day, you have to be careful in what you say. It's not political correctness. It's just good business. What he said was offensive, and I think in this particular instance, Univision made the right decision. We should be embarrassed of Donald Trump. Miss World or Miss Universe, and you do something like that, check yourself.
Matthew.
Donald Trump has been a cartoon character and a cult of personality celebrity now for more than a decade. He certainly communicates politically this way. I think he will have a very strong showing in the GOP primary as a result. He resonates with a lot of people. He says a lot of common sense things, and what people really like is that he speaks exactly what he's thinking, whether you like it or not. That is refreshing. Personally, he will not get my vote in the primary.
Take the good with the bad. I think Trump says what's on his mind, but of course when he says it, there's going to be some backlash from various places. I think he got himself in trouble with the comments on immigration. I think that's going to be a real problem for him politically, and I think he should kind of stay out of politics and stay in business.
All right. And I think to set the record straight, I think he was talking about illegal immigration. Let Robert talk. Robert?
Well, I mean, first I like Jon Stewart's quote that it was a speech written by Gary Busey. Secondly, the larger point here is not that Donald Trump is running for something, but that because of Citizens United, he's running against many things. And he'll raise these issues like immigration and push the Republican Party towards issues that it might not otherwise want, and I think he's Jeb Bush's worst nightmare.
I think anybody who turns the GOP primary process into a carnival with a comb over is a problem. So let's move on to our next topic, which is SCOTUS Care. That's what Antonin Scalia called it in his dissent. He said basically Obamacare has been bailed out twice by the Supreme Court of the United States. Did the Supreme Court justices do their job?
Did their job, got it right. I'm a firm believer in the fact that, you know, a simple majority is what determines what the law is. Scalia himself has said that. The law means whatever simple majority says at any given time. Once the court has ruled, that's what they ruled. I'm comfortable with it.
Matthew.
The Supreme Court, from the foundational documents, is tasked with one thing, and that is upholding the Constitution and interpreting law vis-a-vis the Constitution. There are several activists on the court led by Ginsburg, Sotomayor, and Kagan. And they got this very, very wrong. They basically said it's a very complicated issue, but they said that, okay, post facto, you can change the law because it wasn't working as you wanted it. The law was very, very clear. I read the law when it was drafted in 2009, and it said that the money was coming from the federal government if the states put up exchanges. They just changed it.
Michael.
Indeed, we live in interesting times. I'm not a big supporter of the Roberts Court, but here they got it right. Not only did they get it right on Obamacare, they got it right on gay rights, and they also got it right on anti-discrimination in housing this week. So it's been a great week.
Okay, let's turn to our next topic, which is gay rights. I have felt all along that gay people have absolutely the right to be as miserable as heterosexuals and get married. Let's turn to Robert and get your take on the gay marriage decision.
Well, it's a monumental decision, analogous to the Brown versus Board of Education decision in 1954, or the Loving versus Virginia decision that allowed interracial marriage in 1965. Beyond the history of it, though, there's a question of what does the gay liberation movement do now? Timothy Stewart Winter, a wonderful historian, has written in the New York Times a piece on gay liberation movement not being stalled because of a decision to now allow institutional marriage. We don't want a moment as women had after the suffrage movement, when once they received suffrage, their movement dissipated and we didn't hear their voices strongly again until the mid-1960s. So we need that vibrancy to continue, and as Winter writes in that editorial, the Black Lives Matter movement is as much a story for the gay liberation movement as their current agenda.
Yohuru, your take on it.
Couldn't agree more. Great piece by Timothy Stewart Winter. Also a great piece by you, Rob, on CNN this week on Charleston, but that's not what we're talking about now. I do agree. It's an important moment. I think that there's still issues that have to be worked out in terms of the states and how this will be interpreted. Of course, states ultimately have a lot of power in determining that process, but the Supreme Court definitely got it right. It is a landmark moment, and it's one we celebrate as Americans because ultimately, at the end of the day, it's one that privileges citizenship and the rights of individuals as long as they're being legal to be free from obtrusive state law.
Running out of time.
Again, activist court has violated states' rights, which were integral to the evolution of this country and its robust democracy. I agree with the outcome. I'm a libertarian. I've been for gay marriage. I don't think the government should sanction any marriage. They shouldn't take a license fee. They shouldn't basically make it for or against the law. This is for churches and private affiliations to determine marriage. But the Supreme Court did more damage again this week to the Constitution.
I'm still single, but you know what? You know what? I think the Supreme Court got it right. It's about inclusivity and about liberty, and it's a correct interpretation of the Equal Protection Clause.
Okay. It's almost hard to be against this if you are libertarian at all, if you're fair-minded at all. I mean, if people love someone, whether they have blonde hair, black hair, whatever race they might be, whatever gender they might be, you would think that person would have the right to marry. And if you have a religious objection, don't get married to that person. Simple as that. I'd like to thank the Ebru think tank, Yohuru Williams, Matt Tyrmand, and Michael Higginbotham, and Robert Chase as well for joining us here on Fresh Outlook. That is it for this edition, that TV show that helps keep your outlook fresh and informed. I'm Logan Crawford. See you next time.